Hear ye, hear ye, hear ye, hear ye. What's going on, everybody? Today we're going to talk about your gimbals and what to look for in case you ever upgrade from the stock gimbals to the Hall effect gimbals. Alright, a little backstory on how long I've had this radio or transmitter. I bought this in 2020 and I've used it primarily for flying. I also think when you use this radio for simulators, you're also just putting more stress overall on your gimbals, and so that's something to be aware of. I recently did the Drone Racing League simulator tryouts and put a good handful of hours onto the Drone Racing League simulator using this exact radio. And then down the road, found out that one of my connections was about ready to break off and eventually did. But that is actually after I had 3 other connections go out on this radio. So over the course of a couple years, and I upgraded to the Hall gimbals fairly quickly after getting the radio. So pretty much 2 years of using Hall gimbals. With quite a bit of use, that's when I started noticing the connections were going bad. So just for kind of a timeline reference there for you. So I'm going to compare the stock gimbals to the Hall effect, Hall sensor, whatever you want to call it, gimbals, and show you the difference from the factory solder or the factory joints and what you should be mindful of. All right, we're going to go ahead and open this thing up. Show you what we're dealing with here. Take out my Crossfire, pop the battery, I'm using these gimbal covers as kind of protection, so don't cringe. Put a little piece of foam in there to kind of give the battery something to sit on. Then it's just 4 of these Phillips screws holding everything on here. Good place to put it. Alright, I'm going to zoom in and show you what these connections look like. This is my left gimbal, but when you're actually holding it, it's your right gimbal, so it's your pitch, roll, and you can see here that I've actually taken this off before because the glue here probably should be sitting on the inside. These are your 3 wires that go to the gimbal, I guess. Then you also have these 3 wires that also hook in. So, and you can kind of see why they put that antenna paste on there because there's so much movement. Alright, these are pretty small Allen screws, but anyway, super easy to take off. And this is just like a little seat that goes over your connections. But let's zoom in and show you. Alright, this isn't the best camera to show this super tight detail, so we're going to pull the phone out and we're going to do some of that. Okay, and so there it is with the little holder thingy on it. I like to think that that does something, but I'll take this one off. All right, so this is the other one. You can kind of see this, the red wire joint is kind of garbage. I should really just redo that because that's also not super confidence inspiring. But here you can see the soldering that I've redone and how I basically just connected it to the board like so. And from here on out, I'm just going to have to keep an eye on it and adjust accordingly. For anyone that is interested, this is the Crossfire modification that I did to this bad bird. And you can see right there Some of the smallest solder moves I've ever done. But we pulled it off, so it worked, man. But anyway, different story. All right, I'm gonna leave this open because I do want to go in and readjust that connection. But I also want to show you what the standard gimbal connections look like. So here's what comes with a QX7 that you buy online, right out of the box. So can you notice anything different already? Kind of like these metal prong things that appear the wires are soldered to, and then those are actually put into the board. So this is your stock gimbal setup, and I like the way it looks constructed already compared to the Hall gimbals. Fortunately, the Hall gimbals are nice and smooth, but the way this is put together seems like it was done how it should. And yeah, you're probably saying, well, any savvy guy in this game can probably go in and pull these things and solder in and do that whole setup. But it kind of blows my mind that you pay $26 per gimbal for the Hall setup, and they come put together almost more cheaper or more cheaply than the stock gimbals. So the more likely your solder connections are to break. So that's all I'm saying. Anyway, I'm gonna solder this guy up, touch him up a little bit, and I'll have a little video of that here. A little bit of flux here. And since this is so small, I think all I really need to do is put some heat on it, and that should remelt it, almost reseat it. So it's just going to be a quick little dab. Toughest part here, making sure the actual cable you want to work stays where you want it to stay. Okay, looks good enough. I am a junk show. I need to clean up all this stuff. Not be such a mess. But anyway, looks a lot better. So now we're going to take this, get this kind of buttoned back up. Okay, but
welcome to Open
make sure you can see this.
Switch warning.
Alright. One thing I always do now go to this screen before I fly. I check gimbal control, make sure everything seems legit. And then I proceed. So it's just what I do. But another way to check that you're good to go. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that wraps up today's video. Hope you learned something. Hope you formulated an opinion about these gimbals and what you want to do down the road if you do use a QX7. Or if you're like, oh hey, I've actually never opened my transmitter up, and maybe I should take a look at my gimbal connections and just make sure they're all good. because there's nothing worse than having them go bad during flight. So anyway, thanks for watching, and do all the things that they tell you to do. Thanks for coming out.